Hi, this is Lisa Kelly, Notre Dame author and class of 1993, and you are watching the Two Irish Brothers show. Cheers and go Irish!
How's it going, everybody? I am Irish Benjamin 57.
And I am ND Sean 45.
And together, the two of us make up this awesome show called The Two Irish Brothers. So welcome in, welcome aboard. But before we get this Ohio State versus Notre Dame throwdown, smackdown, however you want to call it, preview going, please hit that subscribe button down below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. If you disliked the video, hit the dislike button. And please leave a comment below. All of that helps us with the algorithm, and we love hearing from you. Also, we have two travel packages that we want to tell you about. The first one is from a good buddy of ours and Notre Dame great, Irv Smith. His business, Global Executive Tours. Is that right, Sean? Global Executive Tours?
Global Executive Tours, either
something
or
like
works.
that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he has this awesome travel package, and it's down below before I go any further for you to check out. He has this awesome travel package for next year when Notre Dame takes on Navy in Dublin, Ireland, and it includes not only travel to the game and tickets for the game, but also actually 3 rounds, isn't it? 3 rounds?
Yes,
3
3
rounds of golf with some Notre Dame legends. So if you're into golf, you're into Notre Dame football, and you're going to that game, check it out. Also, this year, our good friend Rizzuto, first name, Sean, please?
Vince
Rizzuto. I am always thinking of a different Rizzuto from a show I used to listen to in St. Louis. Our friend Vince Rizzuto has an awesome travel package for this year to the Boston College game against Notre Dame, but included in that travel package is also another game, which is on Sunday, which is between the Indianapolis Colts and the Philadelphia Eagles. If you're a Philly fan and you're traveling for the game, check that out. If you're coming from Philadelphia and you're not a Philly fan and you've always wanted to check out Indianapolis and the Colts, check it out. That's all down below. You can check out more information there. Without further ado, let's get this preview started. So, as I said, Ohio State versus Notre Dame in the Horseshoe. What more can you ask for to start the season, Sean?
Do you know what that means? Opening game, Ohio State, the 2022 season getting underway. That means one thing.
Yep.
11 Warriors is going to be coming after us.
Yep.
You know that.
I know of them. I've heard of them.
Well, and I bring that up because years ago when I was doing my own thing, do you remember when we played Ohio State in the 2016 Fiesta Bowl?
Yes.
Well, leading up to that game, a few of the guys on there put out a little hit on, well, not a hit, but they roughed me up a little bit on their message boards. And let me tell you something, Ben. I don't know what it was back then, but you watched me around that time, didn't you?
Yeah.
I don't get it. One of the things that everybody seemed to come after me about was the couch that I had at the time.
Yeah. I remember the couch.
It was one of two things. It was either my goatee, because my goat could be a little off sometimes after shaving, or the couch. And I'm like, what's wrong with this couch? It's not that bad looking. It was a free gift from some friends of mine. And well, at that time, I didn't have a lot of furniture. So yeah, I was going to take it. There was nothing wrong with it. But yeah, they were more attacking me over the couch in my goatee rather than being a Notre Dame fan. And that was I think you can still check out the 11 Warriors archives, and I think that's still in there. It's like say hi to our local Notre Dame resident, ND Sean 45 or something. But all I know is the bottom line is this: big time showdown in the Horseshoe this Saturday night. It's going to be crazy. And as we've pointed out, or I pointed out many times, a lot of emotion in this game, a lot of opinions, and I'm not even talking about from the Ohio State fans necessarily, but rather our own. So a lot on the line in this one.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you can't get much bigger than this. I mean, seriously, this is a battle of, two top 10 teams, one of a couple on that Saturday, but this is the primetime game. And for Notre Dame, this is another start to a season with a challenging opponent that is Ohio State. And I mean, let's be honest, Sean, Ohio State is a gold standard, if you will, in the college football world.
Oh, they are. They've had a lot of success, especially recently. They have. Well, I'm just stating the obvious. We all know that they've always put out some pretty damn good teams. And they're always a force to reckon with. Maybe they haven't always been a juggernaut, but they know how to recruit. They know how to get top talent in there. And I'm not saying other teams don't. Of course, other teams do, but Ohio State, they're right up there with the best. And this game is going to be far from easy. Not that anybody was even thinking that, but you can't say it enough. This is definitely a big time challenge for the opening game of the season. I mean, usually you get a team that's not at the caliber of Ohio State. Then you get into your elite slate on the schedule. We're being thrown right to the wolves on this one.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, like I said, you're going to start off in hostile territory against Ohio State. And like I said, gold standard of football. And like you said, they recruit well at Ohio State. I'm sorry. Everybody talks about Texas and Alabama as these football hotbeds, and Florida. Ohio is a football hotbed. I mean, and not all the guys go to Ohio State, but Ohio in and of itself is a football hotbed. A lot of those guys go to Notre Dame. A lot of those guys go to, obviously Ohio State. Michigan's another big school that gets a lot of guys from Ohio. I mean, you can go down the line and you can see guys, Ohio. So Ohio is a football state. Those guys are ravenous in that state for that fan base. And,
Ben, you know a lot about that because you lived in Ohio for a while. Did you live in Columbus?
I lived outside of Columbus. I was about a 10-minute drive to Columbus from where I lived.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is a place that eats, sleeps, breathes football. I mean, and in a state, and no offense to the state of Ohio, because I loved all 16 years that I lived in that state. That's who they got. I mean, this is their big name thing is Ohio State football in that state. I mean, that's just what it is. The Indians, or I'm sorry, the Guardians now have been up and down.
The Indians. They're the Indians. They always will be the Indians.
Are up and down. The Bengals finally got good. I'll give it to them. They were in the Super Bowl last year. The Browns have always been pretty much near the bottom. So, I mean, when you live there, the go-to thing is Ohio State football. I mean, if you want to be entertained and you want to get your money's worth, you go to an Ohio State football game. That's how it is. So, anyway, like you said, this is far from easy. This is probably the best opponent that Notre Dame will face until probably Southern Cal, and I don't know what Southern Cal is going to be this year. So, this could be, if Notre Dame makes the playoffs, the best team that Notre Dame plays until the playoffs, if they make it. So,
well, this says a lot about what Ohio State's done recently, and we could go back further than this, but in Ryan Day's time, and I have the numbers right here in front of me, in Ryan Day's time at Ohio State, 34-4, 1-2 in the college football playoff, 2-2 in bowl games, and they have only missed the playoffs once since its inception, and two Big Ten championships. So he's built quite a program or kept a program going, however you want to look at it. So let's just get right into the tail of the tape here and break this down. for this coming Saturday night. And we know the big factor right off the bat, quarterback CJ Stroud, he steps in for or he has been stepping in for Justin Fields after Fields got drafted by the Chicago Bears, and he's done pretty well.
Yes.
Last season, the numbers right here, these are sickening numbers. 317 for 441 yards, or 317 out of 441, 71 completion percentage, 71%, almost 72, 4,435 yards, 44 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. That is insane. And that doesn't even include what he's done on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. This is a Buckeye team that is loaded. And when we say loaded, locked and loaded with tons of offensive talent. This is an Ohio State team that can hit you with everything they got and score at any time. And this will be a shootout. I'm sorry. This is a game, if you're Notre Dame, that you have to just assume that you got to score as many points as you can score. Oh, there's like 3 teams in college football that the only way you beat them is outscoring them. You don't beat them with your defense. You don't beat them, on the special teams. You beat them by scoring as much and more than them. And that is Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson. And, I mean, look at the bowl game that Ohio State played in last year. They beat Utah 48-45 comeback fashion for the Rose Bowl victory last year. 48-45. That's a shootout. I'm sorry. That's a shootout, So we got our work cut out for us. We really, really got our work cut out for us.
Yes, absolutely. And also, Ben, as you pointed out, the big key in this game is it all starts in the trenches. Both sides of the ball, offense, defense. But since we're talking about the quarterback and Ohio State's offense right now, our defensive line, which I think we have a good one, especially with Isaiah Foskey at the top of it, leading the troops there. He's a very talented defensive end, and we've got in the alongside of him, we got the twins. What is it? How do you say the last name? The Ademiamola twins.
Yep.
I could be wrong with the names. I could be
You did pretty well.
Okay. and there's other guys too, but we've got a pretty darn good defensive line. So that's going to be the big key too. And I've said this for years. It always starts with that, getting pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
We've got to penetrate Ohio State's offensive line. Get CJ Stroud uncomfortable. Force him to make some bad throws. Get those 3 and outs. And if we do that, that's a start to at least giving myself some confidence that we can win this game.
Yeah.
And I'm confident in those guys that they can do that. I mean, I know everyone, by definition standards, we're homers. But anybody who's watched Notre Dame, you see how good those guys on the front 7 are, especially on the defensive line. I mean, they are really good.
Yeah.
So we've got the talent to step up and penetrate that offensive line.
Yeah. The biggest thing is, our safety and corner play is going to have to be phenomenal. One misstep, and Ohio State will bust it open and take it to the house. One misstep, one blown assignment, one missed tackle. This is a put up or shut up game. I mean, and everybody's saying it. I mean, you look at these numbers, like you were saying with CJ Stroud. I mean, Jackson Smith had over 1,000 yards receiving last year.
Well, actually, Ben, I got to correct you. That's Jackson Smith in Njigba. It's hard to say his name. I just
skipped the pronunciation just so I wouldn't make a fool of myself. But
Njigba.
Yeah, I mean, almost 1,700 yards if you want to get super technical. 1,606 receiving yards. So, I mean, and he had 95 receptions for an average of 16, almost 17 yards a reception. That's almost 2 first downs. Almost 2 first downs this dude's doing on average. So this Ohio State offense is going to push this Notre Dame defense to its limits. I mean, this is why we brought and promoted Marcus Freeman, because Marcus Freeman, although he's not our defensive coordinator, is a defensive mind. I mean, obviously. So I hope that this amazing storyline of Marcus Freeman coming back to Ohio State in his first game as actual head coach, because the bowl game against Oklahoma State doesn't count, in my opinion. Okay.
Well, and to be clear on that, everyone. Yes, it goes on Marcus Freeman's record, and yes, it was a game that we badly let slip away. Yeah. But not making excuses.
This was not his team. This was not his staff. That was not any of his, tendencies, his play calling. None of that. Everything was Brian Kelly's. The only thing was he was in Brian Kelly's shoes, if you will.
He only had a month.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You get named the new head coach of a major university like Notre Dame, and you have a month to get your guys ready to play in a major bowl game, which you knew you were going to. We knew we were going to the NY6, just didn't know whether it was the playoffs or the other remaining games. So, yeah, he's not settled in yet as the head coach. I mean, he said himself he wasn't sure where all he had to go, like building wise, for certain things. Yeah. So you get thrown into the dogs essentially to lead a head team or an elite team as head coach.
Yes.
I mean, that's tough. Anybody put yourself in that situation.
Yeah. But my point is, for him to have this special storyline, can he get these guys fired up enough to come out with this victory? Because this is going to be a challenge. I mean, this is going to be a huge challenge in front of Notre Dame. Obviously. I mean, Ohio State Stadium, Buckeye Stadium, however you want to say it, the Horseshoe, is not an easy place to win. I'm sorry. I mean, very few teams do it. So, do I have confidence in these guys? Of course I do. But the task at hand is gargantuan. Just saying. So, yeah, it's going to be really fun and really interesting to see what happens. And on the flip side, we talked about the defense. On the flip side, we have Tyler Buchner is our starting quarterback. He's been named the starter. He's our guy, at least for this first game. This is the biggest game that he has ever played in. This is the biggest stadium atmosphere that he's ever played in. Yes, he's played at Notre Dame, and I'll give him that. But you're going to go on the road to Ohio State in a night game and play one of the best teams you'll see all season.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's
tough.
Oh,
yeah. Especially for your first game as the starting quarterback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow.
Yeah.
you got dealt a bad hand with that one, but you know what? It's a bad hand that I think he can win with. I mean, how many times we've seen it in cards, guys win all the time with bluffs.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible here.
No.
But also something else to talk about here, since we were talking about Ohio State, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the defensive side of things with them. Now, you pointed out to me, and we were talking about this before we sat down to film here, they got a new defensive coordinator, and last year their defensive numbers weren't exactly very sexy. I mean, it looked like, from what I'm seeing here, they were ranked 59th nationally in the country, 38 in scoring defense, which that right there is kind of middle of the road with the total number of teams at the FBS level. But the two numbers here that really stick out: 96th in pass defense, 100th in opponent third down conversion percentage at 42.1%. So it's easy to say that, hey, that'd be the best area for this Irish offense to attack. But do you know who is their defensive coordinator now?
Jim
Is it a big name?
Who? Jim Knowles is his name.
Oh, okay.
Came over this year, promoted, not promoted, but, got that job. And from everything I've read and everything I've heard, this is a retooled Ohio State defense. This Buckeye defense is going back to the silver bullet days, if you will, where that defense just was strong, stout, very, very frustrating for quarterbacks, very frustrating for running backs, all that jazz, So, but we'll see. I mean, this is going to be a interesting matchup with Notre Dame and Ohio State. Yes, Ryan Day is experienced, but Jim Knowles, this is his first stint at Ohio State, and we're going up against an unknown coach. I mean, nobody has film on Marcus Freeman right now. Nobody. You kind of got a little bit of a glimpse with the Fiesta Bowl with Oklahoma State, but that wasn't all his playbooks and tendencies and all that fun stuff. That wasn't his. That was more Brian Kelly's than his. So, it'll be really interesting to see what Jim Knowles throws at Marcus Freeman and vice versa in this game, and see how good that Buckeye defense has improved, because everybody is saying that Buckeye defense has improved and you should be watching out for them. So we'll see. We will see.
But it's not completely unfair to look at those numbers from last year and get an idea of where you could attack for this opening game.
Oh yeah, of course. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, but Buckner is going to have to be on his toes, if you will, because this Buckeye defense, that crowd, everybody knows, this is your first big step into this world that is college football. You've been brought in during garbage time. This is your team, your match. You're going to be thrown into the fire. This is not a cupcake team that you're playing for your first game. This is the best team you'll probably see all season. So we have to make plays. I mean,
and not just making plays, but that offensive line has to step up. I mean, we can't have reshuffling like we did the first half of last season. That offensive line has to be set. They have to be ready. Made a lot of moves. Jarrett Patterson's going to the inside at the guard spot. Blake Fisher, Josh Lugg. It sounds like all these guys have learned from their mistakes last year, but it's time to see it on the field now. Yeah. You've got to protect your quarterback and open up the holes for Chris Tyree, Audric Estime, Logan Diggs, and Jabron Payne.
Yeah.
So all that offense relies on you guys up front, the front five.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and Buckner can run. He's dual threat quarterback, and he can beat you with his legs, and it's way different than what we had last year with Cone. But you can't have him running for his life every play. I'm sorry. I mean, if he's running for his life every play, it's going to be a long game for this Notre Dame offense. It's going to be a long game. So, we got to make these plays. And like you said, it starts at the front and it goes on from there. And go ahead.
I was going to say, sticking with our offense, but if you had a point you wanted to finish making.
No, and we're just going to, it's going to be a trade blow for blow game. It's not going to be that you're going to beat them right off the bat. This is going to be, a knockdown, drag out, fight night kind of game. Sorry,
But what I was going to continue on with the offense, and this is the one of the biggest talks amongst the Notre Dame community right now is our receiving core. I mean, yeah, obviously we all know we lost Avery Davis for the year, tore his other ACL, so his time at Notre Dame is over with.
Yeah. But
now is the chance for all these young guys to step up. But not just the young guys. We need our current veterans to step up as well. Braden Lindsey, and I was going to say Joe Wilkins, but I don't think he's going to play in this game. I mean, I've heard there was a possibility that he could play, but I remember Coach Freeman saying that he wasn't going to play against Ohio.
Yeah, Lindsey has to be the dude. I mean, we saw him be this amazing dude a few years ago, and then he just hasn't been the same guy. And that's fact. I mean, we haven't seen it. So, if you're going to be this dude, this is your time to be the dude.
Yes, this is your time to be that leader, but also it's now the time too for these young guys to step up. All right, you're done being on the sidelines and watching and learning. Now is the time where you got to put it on the field. So it's time for guys like Lorenzo Styles, Jaden Thomas, expect Tobias Merriweather, the freshman, to get some playing time. Deion Colsey, I'm not sure of his injury status at the moment, but he should be ready. And that goes for the tight ends as well, especially Michael Mayer, All-American. You guys have to step up for the missing veteran leadership that is no longer there. So this is your time to shine. And speaking of Michael Mayer, I want to mention this before I forget it. I don't see why everybody's making such a stink about what he said in
Right.
regards to playing in a huge atmosphere like the Horseshoe. He wasn't bad mouthing Ohio State or their fans or anybody. He's just saying that he's prepared to play in a big environment like that, in a hostile environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's it.
It's
I don't see what the
confidence.
big deal is about that.
Confidence. Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think he's going to be the key piece in this game. You know, if you want to give the edge to one thing, the biggest thing that Notre Dame has over Ohio State, it's tight end play. It is tight end play, and it is Michael Mayer, because Michael Mayer is in the top 3 tight ends in the country. And if anybody disagrees with that, you don't know football. I'm sorry. But, you know, it's what can Michael Mayer do? And can he take over the game like we saw Cole Kmet do to Georgia a few years ago? Can Michael Mayer be that guy? And I think he can. I think he can be that bully and really be the game changer. But it, like you said, starts at the front. And he ain't getting the ball if Buckner's running for his life. But, you know, this is the time for this Notre Dame offense to show us. We have said in the past many times, you know, we need to be able to strike at will every time, and we just haven't had that offense in recent years. We just haven't had it. And this is the game where if you're going to win, you have to be able to strike at any point in time in the game. Not when you need it, not when you have to do it, but every single time.
Well, and also, you know, a couple things going back to the Ohio State side of things a little bit. It's not just us that are missing a couple guys to injury. I mean, obviously we're missing Avery Davis, and then freshman running back Jadarian Price, who got hurt in the spring. He's out for the season. But Ohio State's going to be coming into this game a little dinged up too. I mean, they're going to be without their starting running back Evan Pryor, who had a monster season last year, or at least was on his way to having a monstrous season. But he's going to be out for the season with what was it? Did he tear his ACL, or what was that?
I know it's I don't quote me, but I do believe it's something to do with his knee. So that's never a good thing. So,
but he didn't have I mean, of course, he didn't have the sexiest numbers last year, but he was set to be a big part of that offense, along with Trayvon Henderson. And, you know, Henderson, you know, you see his numbers: 1,248 yards, 6.8 yards a carry, and 15 touchdowns. But you added Evan Pryor to that, and they were going to be a dangerous duo.
yes.
So I think, which I'm not saying that is going to hurt their offense.
No.
But what I'm saying is I think it puts a lot more on Henderson to carry the load.
Yes. It's more pressure, if you will. But I mean, this dude could be a starting running back. I mean, with the numbers that he puts up. So
yes, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. And then of course, the other one is they have a wide receiver. I think I forget his first name, but Babs is his last name. He's out. I don't know if it's for the season, but he's going to be at least out for this opener against us. So they're without a couple key pieces on their offense. But of course, you know, this is Ohio State we're talking about. They have become like a lot of other elite teams. They don't what's the word I'm thinking of?
They don't rebuild, they reload.
Rebuild. I can't believe I couldn't think of that. They don't rebuild, they reload. So, yeah. But you got to point out those because they are key injuries.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. You know, there's a lot of unknowns in this. We know certain things, but there's a lot of unknowns. You know, how good will that Buckeye defense be? How good will the Notre Dame offense be? We know what we have in the Notre Dame defense. We know what we have in the Ohio State offense. You know, what will Marcus Freeman bring? You know, what will happen? There's a lot of unknowns in this game.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, we probably could have just said that and end the whole video, but how much fun is that, you know?
Right.
That's not very fun. That's not entertaining. That's not what we do these videos for. Right. So yeah, I mean, that's the tail of the tape is you've got experience versus first timer as a head coach. You have You have a lot of new guys with a lot of set guys at Ohio State on both offense and defense. But that's what it all comes down to, is there's so many unknowns here. And that's the thing, because of all these changes and all these unknowns, you have everybody saying that, as we pointed out in our last video talking about Paul Feinbaum and what he said, you have a lot of people that just aren't giving us a chance in this game. They're just instantly writing it up as a loss. And I understand that we can't say it enough. This is hostile environment that we're walking into in the Horseshoe. It's going to be loud. It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
And believe me, you just know Marcus Freeman and that whole team knows it.
Oh, yes.
But to say that we have no chance at all and to just chalk this one up as a loss before the game's even played, that's not fair. That's not right.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
But the most ridiculousness, and you've heard me mention this many times, you expect Ohio State fans to say this, you expect haters to say this, but the fact that we have some in our own fan base that are saying it, that's what irritates me the most. Is that we have fans that are pretty much haters saying that stuff. So, you can't argue with idiots.
Nope.
But
I
it's just like
talking.
All I can say is if that's how you feel about your team, then there's the door. Leave. Yeah. Hit the road. Find another team to cheer for.
Yeah.
So with that said, Ben, I mean, we could go on forever breaking all these different aspects down, and who's hurt, who's healthy, where should the Notre Dame offense attack the Ohio State defense, and so on. But it's all come down to this score prediction.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to take the first shot.
Go ahead.
But here's the thing. We said this already earlier in this video. This Ohio State's going to get their points.
Oh, yes.
That's not a knock on our defense. That just
Yep.
Ohio State has a really good defense. There's no way that you're going to beat them by 30 points or something like that. That's absurd.
No.
This is going to be a battle. But at the end, I do think we do have enough firepower on offense to beat this team. We return a lot of guys in our defense that are really good. I mean, we didn't talk about our secondary that much, but our secondary played very well last year. They stepped up big when we needed them to be. And even without Kyle Hamilton, they're still going to be very good.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, I think this is going to be almost kind of like our opener against Florida State last year. So my final score prediction in this game: Notre Dame 35, Ohio State 30, but no overtime.
Ooh.
And it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if it came down to Notre Dame on the final drive.
Yeah,
because that's another thing too in this game that I guess I should point out: ball control.
Mm-hmm.
We can hold on to that ball and run some nice 6-7 minute drives. I like our chances. But that's my final score prediction: Notre Dame 35, Ohio State 30.
Interesting.
If we're able to execute.
Interesting. Nice. All right. Like you said, high scoring game. We all know it. This is inevitable. This is going to be a shootout, barn burner, however you want to call it.
Now, if we were to somehow blow them out, I would take that in a heart. I would take it out. I would take it in a heartbeat, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Do what they did to Clemson.
Yeah.
When everybody thought they didn't have a prayer against Clemson. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, no, I don't think it'll go that way. I think it'll be Notre Dame wins 49-45. Final score. No overtime.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're on the same page as far as that goes.
Yeah.
I just don't see any way that we could. That
I think
could we win by 2 scores? Yes, but
what were you saying? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was just saying, could we win this game by 2 scores? Yeah, it's possible, but I'm not banking on it.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. What I truly think makes the difference in this game, and maybe some people are talking about it, maybe some people aren't. I think Marcus Freeman makes the difference in this. I think this is his homecoming. This is a beautiful and amazing story line, and he's going to have those dudes fired up, and those dudes are going to want to run through a brick wall for Marcus Freeman. And that's what's going to propel Notre Dame to this victory over Ohio State is Freeman and his system and his drive as a leader gets us this victory.
I like it. It's a very typical story that we've seen many times before, but you're absolutely right. Those guys in that locker room stepped up and made their voices heard for him to be the head coach. And he even said that in the video when he was introduced. So they're going to play their hearts out for him. He's going to coach his heart out for them.
Yep.
And it is an awesome story. But one last thing I wanted to say to finish up this preview, regardless of what happens, even if the game doesn't go in our favor, even if it goes very bad, this team, Ben, will always be our team. Yep. We're always going to stick with them.
Yes.
Never are we gonna talk them down, anything like that. We are going to stay in their corner 100%. Yep. And I think a lot of people in our fan base need to do the same. Yep. So, yeah, these are our guys, and we're behind them 100%.
Yep.
So with that said, Ben, is there anything else you would like to add for this preview?
I got nothing.
Me neither. So the first preview is in the books. Now it's only a matter of time to wait all week and get through this long week of work, which I'm sure it's going to be. And we get a chance to see if we hit on anything in this preview.
Yep.
So with that said, everyone, I am ND Sean 45.
I'm Irish Benjamin 57.
And as we always say, good night, God bless, go Irish, and welcome to 2022 college football.
Go Irish. Beat the Buckeyes.